But the big story, of course, is unfolding at the Union Buildings. President Cyril Ramaphosa today set to host his Angolan counterpart, that's Joao Lourenco. The aim here is to strengthen ties between Pretoria and Luanda. Angola, of course, one of the countries that opened its doors to South African freedom fighters during Apartheid. The two leaders will also lead, or rather address, a business forum aimed at forging a new era of cooperation. Watching developments for us is the SABC International Desk team from a number of vantage points. Let's bring in our reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, who joins us now live. And Khayelihle, what we expect, of course, is that both presidents will bring their own delegates. Who do you have there with you now?
Well, certainly quite a very significant time for South Africa and Angola. As you know, that these are two countries, very fraternal, very cordial ties, and also just collaborating in so many aspects, from immigration to agriculture to an array of aspects. And you can really just go to quite a number of issues. But of course, it's a very critical time in terms of the geopolitics within the SADC region, what's happening in the world as well. But one of the key areas, of course, will have to be agriculture. After all, it's about food security. It's about making sure that the two countries' citizens are well fed. So joining us now is Minister John Steenhuisen, responsible for a critical portfolio, John, around agriculture. Tell us about your expectations today.
Well, obviously what we're wanting to do is to deepen and widen the bilateral agreements that we already have with Angola. We signed in 2004 a bilateral agreement with them, and that a large part of that deals with exchange of research, livestock management and genetics, crops as well. We're also a net exporter of agricultural products to Angola, and obviously we want to look at how we can expand that. We see Africa as a major potential market for South African agricultural goods and for our agri-sector. So I'll be on the hunt today for some good opportunities for South African agriculture, but also to see how we can deepen the cooperation within Africa, particularly as we head towards Kampala in January, where the CADAP meeting will discuss the agricultural plan for the continent for the next 10 years.
John, obviously, we've seen quite a number of challenges. The crippling droughts that we've seen really just affecting the sector. What can South Africa and Angola do in terms of mitigating, really just looking at innovative ways of dealing with this key aspects?
Well, Angola have got some pretty good technology, agri-technology, and what they've also been particularly good at is being able to draw their small-scale farmers into the value chains. The majority of farms in Angola are smaller-scale farmers, and yet they are able to contribute to their agricultural exports. So that's important. But as part of CADAP, we're going to have to discuss climate change and its impact in South Africa and Angola, but also on the rest of the continent as well. It is having a devastating effect. We've seen this year droughts, fires, snow, and flooding all in the same year. So clearly getting to grips with climate change and putting in place mitigation measures is going to be fundamentally important, and I hope it's going to be a large part of the continental agenda as we head to Kampala in January.
And obviously, John, while we still have you, tomorrow it's the 13th of December, wearing the other cap as a leader of the DA. How are you feeling about tomorrow? Because obviously there's a great deal of anticipation, there's a great deal of trepidation. Will the GNU be sustained, in the midst of the festive season? So your expectations ahead of tomorrow?
I think that we will be able to have a win-win solution for everybody that would give effect to the Bella Bill, but will then also make sure that the relevant clauses, there are regulations in place to prevent any particular other matters coming. But of course the clearinghouse is meeting today, and they'll discuss the report of the subcommittee, and of course ultimately it's up to the president at the end of the day to make the final decision about how we move forward on this particular matter. I think we can find each other. I think that we have the potential for a win-win solution here that will see everybody get what they want, and I think it'll be a good marker for the GNU and a very clear, good way to end the year, because it'll send a very clear message that yes, there are 10 different parties. We're not going to agree on everything all of the time, but that we can come to find compromises that are in the best interests of the people of South Africa and a stable government of the builders, not the breakers.
Just before I let it go, in the context of the builders, so far, do we understand if any of the GNU ministers, especially from the DA, are they safe in their jobs? No one will be sacked anytime. I mean, we've seen a minor cabinet reshuffle recently.
Yes, well, of course. But I mean, I don't think that there's any DA ministers who've done anything wrong other than perform their duties in terms of the Constitution and the law. And it would be very odd to see a cabinet minister being reshuffled, firstly, with no consultation with the leader of that party, and there certainly has been no consultation with me, and secondly, when they've done nothing wrong. And so I'm very confident that the DA ministers will be in place and they will do the excellent work that they've set about doing over the last 6 months in order to rescue South Africa and to give effect to the GNU's goals of creating jobs, ending poverty and making sure that we grow our economy.
All right. John, thank you so much indeed for your time. Of course, and quite a lot of interesting developments here in Pretoria. Obviously, we're still waiting with anticipation for the official proceedings to start off. And obviously, quite a number of ministers are here as well, interacting with the media in terms of their expectations and talking about a lot in terms of South Africa and Angola. Obviously, these are two partners. These are very influential economies in the context of Southern Africa, but also playing a very critical role in terms of making sure that there's sustainable peace, looking what South Africa is doing in eastern parts of the DRC through the deployment of its troops, making sure that they stabilize that part of the DRC, but also by the very same vein, Angolan President Joao Lourenco playing a very critical role in terms of the Luanda process, in terms of making sure that there's long-lasting peace in that part of the world. So we'll certainly do keep you posted. So with that, back to you in studio.
All right, Khayelihle Khumalo, thanks very much indeed. Touching on some domestic politics there as we watch the politics of the region in the context of that story. Khayelihle Khumalo, live to us there from the Union Buildings.